Is Jon Jones the Michael Jordan of MMA? The mere suggestion of that idea almost made Daniel Cormier throw up.
Jon is at the level that Conor is at, to where he could select.
I thought you were about to say Michael Jordan.
No, relax.
I'm leaving, man.
But to be honest, Jon is in a sense the Michael Jordan that we've seen in MMA.
No, he isn't.
You don't think so?
You don't interview?
Obviously, we're not talking about the outside, but as far as in the sport.
So Jon Jones is. So you telling me that Jon Jones is Michael Jordan and LeBron James of MMA?
He's not far from it. He's not far from it.
Jon Jones, and when I'm looking for a sports comp, is a guy who has done so much, but because of all the other stuff,
right? Okay,
it's hard to put him in that rarefied air.
In the lead up to the Stipe fight, Jones tried to turn the whole thing into an episode of The Real Housewives of Albuquerque. He claimed he suddenly, out of nowhere, had a personal beef with Stipe.
There's been two scenarios now. First scenario, he said, my kids will never look at me like I'm an asshole. That was a direct attack to me and my family and my relationship with my kids.
When the supposed clip surfaced, it was nothing like what Jones had described. Stipe hadn't been talking about Jones. Stipe was talking about his own shortcomings with respect to hyping fights.
Some problem is like, maybe if I talk a little bit more shit and, be a little more crazy, but that's not how I am. Like, I got more shit to worry about. I work in full-time fireman. I got 2 kids, just trying to, raise my kids right. I want my kids to wake up and be like, look at my dad, he's a fucking asshole. You know what I mean?
This has to have been one of the most contrived attempts at creating a beef I've ever seen.
Would you describe this as personal to you now, this fight?
It's very personal to me, yes.
But as we know, taking things personally is a full-blown meme with respect to Jordan, and a well-known aspect of his mentality as an ultra-competitor. Jordan took everything personally. He takes a shit, and there's no toilet paper. He used that as motivation to snap up 3 more championships.
And it became personal with me.
Here is Jordan.
It all kind of plays into the lore of Jordan's near-psychotic competitive nature. He took everything personally, used it to create a grudge, which then fuels him in the game. But there was one story in Jordan's documentary series, A Last Dance, that really stood out. The Bulls were playing Washington, and LeBradford Smith put up 37 points against Jordan.
This night is LeBradford Smith's night.
Bradford Smith left wing drains the baseline. Smith has hit everything else.
I mean, he had a game of games. And for whatever reason, Michael couldn't make a basket.
Spins in the lane.
Now, the Bulls still won the game, but according to MJ, LeBradford had kind of rubbed his 37 points in Jordan's face by sarcastically commenting, "Nice game, Mike."
He said that LeBradford Smith, walking out of the gym, had said, "Nice game, Mike."
Predictably, Jordan took the whole thing personally, and the next time they played, he vowed to equal LeBradford's 37 points in the first half of the game. And when they played, Jordan targeted LeBradford and was only 1 point shy of 37 at the halftime mark.
Jordan scores 36 in the first half.
He's concentrating almost solely on LeBradford.
He torched and humiliated him in front of 20,000 people.
He finished the game with 47 points in a lopsided victory for the Bulls. But the true insanity of the story was revealed years later when Jordan admitted that LeBradford Smith had never even said, "Nice game, Mike." Never even said it.
Fast forward to decades past the incident. A couple of writers went up to Michael and said, "Did this ever happen?" And Michael was, with a smile, just like, "No, I made it up."
Jordan fabricated the whole thing to create a motivational narrative in his head. And the story gives us a look at the extent of the psychological tactics Jordan employed to maintain his edge and dominate his opponents. And it seems likely that's what Jones was doing here, to some degree. Like, I'm sure there were multiple angles to it. Jones is getting pay-per-view points, so it always serves him to sell the fight through a beef. I'm sure there was an element of psychological warfare, and Stipe did seem confused by the whole thing. He seemed uncomfortable with the accusation.
The respect is a little bit out the window, and we'll see that on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't remember saying when my kids look. I don't remember saying that when my kids look at me like an asshole. That was no direct.
But it did also seem that Jones was using it as fuel. So both Jordan and Jones are showing the power of narratives in shaping their mindset and how elite competitors can twist reality to create the mental state they believe will lead to peak performance. But I think with Jon, it's also possible that it was a bit performative for the cameras. It did feel that way. Jones has recently spoken about ending his career, and part of sailing off into the sunset for him is doing one of those epic retrospective documentary series of his whole career, like The Last Dance. I think he's mentioned it in a couple of interviews, but here's a tweet. I'm 37 years old now. I've kicked everyone's ass. My job is to finish strong and make an amazing movie and go join Tom Brady, Floyd Mayweather, and all the other retired badasses. Now, Tom Brady has a brilliant documentary series called Man in the Arena. I thought it was excellent, and it's like Brady's version of The Last Dance. So, as I said, there's multiple solid reasons Jones could have said that about Stipe, but I do wonder if a big part of it is just kind of authoring, in a very contrived manner, a segment in the documentary he's already visualizing making. So what I'm suggesting is, did Jones see Jordan's documentary and think, wow, that's cool, I'm going to put something like that in my documentary? And then he rolled out this shit about Stipe.
And I wouldn't make that up. And even if I did make it up, it's the fight business. If I need to hype myself up, I'll hype myself up.
The funniest explanation here, though, is that he saw the Rampage clip and then kind of legitimately mixed it up in his head. Like there would be something deeply Freudian about Jones just hearing the idea of some kids thinking their dad's an asshole and then assuming it must be a reference to him. You know, if the shoe fits that fucking well, you got some bigger problems to address.
I don't remember exactly how it was said, but pretty much what he was saying was, when my kids look back on me and my past, at least my kids will never think that I'm an asshole.
Anyway, his performance was excellent. He's added multiple tools to his game. And one of the coolest soundbites from Jones was to hear him describing how he prepared for the devastating spinning back kick that closed the show.
One thing that I'm really excited about was that spinning back kick. Yeah. That was the one thing I'm really excited about. We started about 6 months ago, we started doing the spinning back kick. And I've worked that same kick from both stances 3 hours a week for several months. You know, Bruce Lee says that he doesn't fear the man that knows 10,000 kicks, but the man who has worked one kick 10,000 times. And man, I put a lot of work in with that spinning back kick. It's just a really powerful shot. So I'm really proud of landing that shot after so many hours of working it.
You know, there's so much negativity around Jones, but he does still have the mind of a martial artist. He still has the enthusiasm and the curiosity for the sport to be methodically adding tools to his game. You know, so many champions get to their peak, and because they're so far ahead of the game, they kind of become complacent, and it's just a matter of time until someone figures them out. We kind of saw that from Jones at light heavyweight, but Jones didn't look complacent here. He's no longer a static puzzle for people to figure out. He's changing and evolving, even against an older guy who people wrote off. He brought something new and improved to the table. He looked different.
The spinning kick is a move that can drop an elephant if you do it right. It's a devastating move. In my opinion, the most powerful kick in martial arts. You know, we've all seen me fight for a while now. I don't really have one punch knockout power. So my mind was, Jon, why not develop a technique that could stop any man? And I came up with the spinning back kick. And I mean, you can be any fighter, and if I catch you just right, you're going down, no matter how well trained you are.
After the fight, he mentioned he was so dialed in for this one and has finally mastered the whole process of fight preparation that he feels reluctant to retire.
How did you feel about the training camp and the preparation for this fight compared to the Cedal Gone fight?
I felt great. I felt really great. I had a really strong team. This fight week has been perfect. My friends and my trainer stepped up, man, like just doing personal security type stuff. I didn't have to think about anything. These guys, my team is like the strongest and most calculated and just most professional that it's ever been. And that's what makes it really kind of interesting, because it's like, Jon, you really are starting to figure this game out and how to be a true MMA pro. It's like, do you really want to stop now? You know, so I'm in a really weird spot.
He also seemed to indicate indicate that for the right money, he'd take on either Aspinall or Pereira.
And as far as Tom Aspinall or Alex Pereira, it sounds like you just want to sit down with Dana White and Hunter Campbell, and if the money is right, you're willing to maybe potentially make the fight that either the fans or they want to see.
Yes, sir. That's exactly what it is.
But again, in the press conference, he expressed a clear lack of interest or a flat-out unwillingness to fight Tom, and was again open to the idea of vacating the belt.
I'm not really worried about the Tom fight. I'm really worried about the Pereira fight. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do, and I think if the UFC wants to have me back, then I think that's the fight they'll make. You know, I'll retire the heavyweight belt if I have to. It's like, dude, give the guy what he wants at the end of the day, you know? I don't want to fight dangerous up-and-comers anymore. I want to fight dangerous, established champions. So Tom can have the heavyweight championship. I don't really care about it. It'd just be worth my while fighting against Pereira. You know, people can call me a duck and a chicken. I'm going to go home and cash a massive check. And so the duck and chicken thing is kind of funny. I think one of the really good things about negotiating is being willing to walk away from a deal. If that's not what the fans want, then I guess I'll say sayonara.
There's clearly something that doesn't make sense about the way Jones talks about Tom. Like he's repeatedly said Tom is too immature.
I feel like Tom's been such an asshole that I don't want to do business with him. You know, it's just like his fans have been so annoying. He's just an asshole. You know, he's 30, so he's from this influencer generation where you hop online and the t-shirt sales and all that. I'm past that type of stuff. I'm like, bro, if you had a little bit more respect, then maybe we could have worked something out, you know, but like he just played his cards wrong with me personally. You know, I'm 3 years from being a 40-year-old grown man. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, the press conference, going through the whole shebang with him, I'd rather not do.
It's not like Tom's 22. He's 30-fucking-1 years old, settled down with a family, and without going into the details of their personal lives, you could easily make the argument that Tom is more mature, or at least behaves more reliably like an adult than Jones. Even when he was discussing Jones' win over Stipe, Tom said he saw holes in Jones' game, but he was mature enough to accept that he might not be able to exploit those holes.
Do you see opportunities for takedowns? I've just noticed that people are never trying to take him down. Do you see an opportunity where they should at least threaten the takedown?
Absolutely. I see everything. Whether I can do it in there, Jon Jones is one of the best to ever do it. Arguably the best. Arguably the greatest of all time, as Dana White says, and as Jon Jones says himself. But I definitely see openings. Whether I can do it or not, Chael, you've been in there yourself.
It's fair.
I don't know. But from the outside looking in, I think I can.
Like he always comes across as very mature and realistic. And so, when Jones tries to defend his comment that Aspinall is an asshole or that Aspinall is immature, it never makes any sense. He really talks himself into a dead end. You know, he struggles to connect those dots and finish his own thoughts.
What specifically has he said or done to make him an asshole?
There's just a lot of people on his nuts right now.
But what has he done, though?
Coming up with Jon Jones t-shirts, buying a little duck, and just the little shit that he does. He's annoying to me, and that's my own personal. He annoys me.
So I think he's likely referring to the combination of Tom and the MMA Guru. Like he's saying the whole shebang of Fight Week and the press conference, as if it'd be a huge headache.
The press conference, going through the whole shebang with him, I'd rather not do.
Tom seems like the most easygoing guy to go through Fight Week with. And the one thing we know for sure is that he wants to be respectful. He has always favored being Mr. Nice Guy. Some would say to a fault. So what is this whole mysterious shebang that Jones is talking about? Now, he's likely surmised, and I would guess correctly, that if there is a Jones and Aspinall buildup, Guru will support Tom and ramp things up against Jones. And I'd imagine that's the whole shebang of Fight Week that he just doesn't want to do.
I don't know if you're aware, Tom, but I've been on quite I guess you could call it a propaganda campaign over the past year or so, pushing for this justice, I would call it, in the heavyweight division. What have you been thinking about watching that? I know you've been paying attention.
Hey, you're fighting the good fight, aren't you?
Yeah, for once.
I'm well behind it, and I appreciate it, because it's obviously... and the crowd followed suit, didn't they? They were cheering my name.
They did chant your name.
As ordered by the Guru.
If you think this is a reach, think about this. There were so many weird things Jon said about Tom that just sounded totally absurd, like did not make any sense. But if you consider that they were actually directed more at the MMA Guru, suddenly they all make perfect sense.
So he's from this influencer generation where you hop online and the t-shirt sales and all that. I'm past that type of stuff.
There's no generational gap between Jones and Tom. They're both in their 30s. They're both millennials. But the MMA Guru is a different generation. He's in his mid-20s. So are a lot of his followers. So there is a clear generational gap there.
I feel like Tom's been such an asshole that I don't want to do business with him. You know, it's just like his fans have been so annoying, but he's just an asshole, you know, with his...
Tom Aspinall is an asshole. Like, Tom has been so tame and respectful in pursuing Jones. He's absolutely not an asshole. But do you think Jones thinks the MMA Guru is an asshole? Of course he does. He probably can't stand the guy.
Through the whole shebang.
The whole shebang. That whole shebang of fight week. So, I mean, like, what's he talking about? Tom is respectful of Jones and would clearly treat him like a legend. I mean, Jones has just put out a huge lie about Stipe talking about his kids to hype himself up. Tom has never pulled anything like that. He treats his opponents like they're old friends. There will be a whole shebang with the MMA Guru, though, whipping up a frenzy on the sidelines that could be quite a distraction.
It would be out of character for you to go at Jones the way the people are going at Jones for you, you know? So you kind of are using us as a vessel to get your message across in a way while you sit there and be the nice guy all of a sudden, you know?
So that was my reading of it. By the way, I don't think Jones is afraid of either guy. I'm joking. When he says he doesn't want to fight Aspinall, I think he simply recognizes the risk, especially at this point in his career. But when he describes the headache of fight week and the build-up in ways that don't make any sense with respect to Tom, I think he might be factoring Guru into the equation and envisioning a very unusual, possibly distracting headache for him. And lastly, you know, some people think I'm a Jones hater, so I just want to clarify a couple things. I don't think Jones has to fight Tom. Like, Jones said two things. He said he'd give up the belt to avoid Tom, and I don't have a problem with that at all. He's only obligated to fight Tom because Tom is clearly next in line for the undisputed belt. So if Jones gives that up, fine. He's free to pursue other fights. He also said that in a negotiation, you have to be willing to walk away. And if this is a negotiation and he wants more money to fight Tom, I'm on his side. He would be putting a lot on the line against Aspinall. And I hope the UFC pay the guy well to do so.